Hitting a walk-off home run in the postseason is one of the best feelings in sports, but with that comes the anatomy of the baseball swing. This is a very complex process in which the muscular system and nervous system must work in perfect harmony in order to succeed. It involves many muscles to complete, such as the obliques, biceps femoris, quadriceps, triceps, biceps, abdominals, trapezius, gastrocnemius, and latissimus dorsi. These muscles are broken down into many different fibers, starting in a muscle strand that are fascials, that have blood vessels running alongside them. In the fascials, there are muscle fibers which are then broken down into myofibrils. These myofibrils are actin and myosin filaments. In the myofibril, there are sarcomeres, which are sections between the Z-lines. In the sarcomeres, myosin heads attach to the actin and pull heads inward, causing the muscles to contract. When the myosin head relaxes, the muscle is now expanded. Both of these motions require ATP. These muscles are all intertwined with the nervous system because in baseball, the number one aspect of a swing is reaction.
That is when the nervous system comes in. When swinging a baseball bat, the batter 16.5 feet away from the pitcher has about 0.4 seconds to react to a 90-mile-an-hour fastball. This means they must determine the pitch type, location, get their stride down, and make contact with the ball all in this short time. First, the eyes pick up the ball out of the pitcher's hand. From there, the axon, which is part of the neuron, sends signals to the parietal lobe of the brain. This allows the hitter to process the ball to where it might be going. Then the signals process in the frontal lobe to activate the motor functions in the hitter's muscles. Also, the cerebellum receives signals to help with coordination and balance
Here's
for
the
the hitter.
comparison between a power hitter on the left and a contact hitter on the right. Watch as the left hitter raises his bat to try to lift the ball in the air as the guy on the right hits the ball on a line. As you can see, there are two circles. One is highlighting the obliques, the other is highlighting the gastrocnemius. The guy on the left uses his obliques more for power than his gastrocnemius, unlike the guy on the right who uses his gastrocnemius to make solid contact and not much as his obliques.
There has been a huge increase in the number of oblique injuries in Major League Baseball in the past 15 years. This is because the batters are using their hips to thrust themselves at the ball and turn with more force and torque than ever before. This is causing the obliques to stretch out and maybe strain, which is causing many injuries to baseball players, such as Tampa Bay third baseman Evan Longoria. The only treatment for this type of injury is rest, ice, and compression. The athlete is also not allowed to take part in hitting activities for the next 3 weeks.
Another major type of injury in the major leagues is the latissimus dorsi strain. This is such a major and common injury because it happens when batters and pitchers do not stretch well enough. They end up pulling that muscle a little too far. This happened to not only center fielder Ryan Kellish, but also Red Sox starter John Lester. The only treatment for a strained latissimus dorsi is rest and ice. If you tear the muscle severely enough, you must go through surgery.
Some may wonder why and how these injuries happen. Well, they are just unpredictable. A muscle strain or tear can happen when a certain muscle is stretched too fast. This causes the muscle fibers near where the tendon and muscle meet to be overstretched or even totally torn apart. If a strain were to happen, it is usually to a very tired or overworked muscle. If the muscle is ruptured too much by the tear or strain, the player or athlete will not be able to use that muscle for a while, till it repairs itself. Strains can come in 3 different severities. Grade 1 is excessive stretch of muscle fibers, Grade 2 is tearing a couple muscle fibers in the muscle strand, and Grade 3 is tearing so many muscle fibers that it will rupture the entire muscle. The best way to prevent a muscle strain is a fast walk or jog before the player's game/exercise.
This one is toward the moon. He's got everybody on his feet. This one is back to right, and it's gone. He's making a believer out of you. What a great part of this story. I mean, every aspect of this is a movie waiting to be made. If somebody told you this happened, you wouldn't believe it. 15 big flies. I think he plans on being up there a while. He's been absolutely amazing. Wow. Wow. In the place where Lou Gehrig hit him, in the place where Mickey Hamilton of the Texas Rangers has 50,000 plus New Yorkers cheering his name. Gone again. And this is another launcher. Oh, it's tattooed. Bang, 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 gone.
You know, we've seen guys get hot and hit a few home runs, but never with the distance that he is hitting. This is awesome.
Another one gone. Way back. Staten Island bound. Back, and goodness gracious, 28 homers.
And, you know, some
Not anybody could hit a ball like this, but now that you know how the muscle system works, you can go give it a try. Touching me, touching you, sweet Caroline. Good time.